And to shed more light on the activities of the third day of the Story of a Nation conference, third day's activities, we are joined over the phone by our correspondent from the new administrative capital, Riham Morsi. Riham, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you, Manisky.
Riham, can you give us an update about the activities of the sessions that took place earlier today at the Story of a Nation conference, and the last one was on the health. So can you shed light about the latest on the health and the social solidarity activities that took place earlier today?
Yes, sure. Today, during the first session of the Nation Story, they spoke about the progress that has been made in the last 9 years or so, since 2014, specifically when it came to social justice and health. And when it came to health, the minister, Dr. Khaled Abdullah, spoke about the idea of social protection to ensure equality. He spoke about how in the last 9 years, almost 30 billion pounds were spent when it came to health programs. And the number of, and the actual quota that has been put for the budget itself, when it comes to the health budget, has increased dramatically, almost 200% increase from what it was in 2014. And he spoke about how it's important that it's to focus on the idea of preemptive striking when it comes to treatment of disease, rather than waiting to reach a severe stage when it comes to disease. The idea of having these mobile clinics going around, making checks on the citizens of Egypt to ensure that they are healthy and fine. And if they have a disease, that they can treat it early on, which will eventually, obviously, reduce the amount of diseases in the country and also reduce the cost and burden on the health ministry itself. He also spoke about a number of different initiatives done by the health ministry, including the initiative that was to tackle and combat hepatitis C. And he said that it was eradicated completely, but they're still doing their checks, and they still plan on doing the different health initiatives, such as the 100 Days initiative.
Yeah. Also, the Minister of Social Solidarity spoke about the activities of the ministry. Can you shed light about the most important points, Riham?
Yes, sure. The minister, Naveen Fatej, spoke about how there are a lot of other initiatives as well. Basically, what they were talking about, both ministers, was the ministries are based on the idea of creating various initiatives through various sources of funding in order to create equality amongst people. Let's talk about social solidarity specifically. She spoke about the Haya Karima initiative, which had cost in the last few years about £1 trillion, and how this has benefited over 60 million citizens. And this is one of the biggest projects that the ministry has taken part in. And the whole idea was to upgrade the living standards of people living in the countryside in rural areas. As was according to the leadership, they see that before 2014, the countryside of Egypt was somehow neglected, and the number of poor people and the poverty there was quite high. They have managed within the last 9 years to reduce the poverty within the countryside by 14%, which is quite a big number. They also, what was important about the talk that the minister spoke about was the idea of creating social protection brackets, whereby they can provide for those who are in need and the poorest when it comes to the nation, by providing unemployment checks, for instance. They spoke about £106 billion worth of unemployment checks, and there are a lot of other initiatives like Takaful and Karama as well as different government priorities when it comes to social justice, like providing not just money or funding to the poor, but also means by which they can remove themselves from poverty through educational programs or through various training programs so that they can better themselves.
Yes, indeed. Riham, today is the third day of the conference and the last day. Can you tell us about what more do we expect to happen in the day as the closing sessions will be taking place?
Yes, today is going to be, the final session will be about, or the second session that's going to take place is about foreign policy and national security and how Egypt has managed to increase or better its foreign policy when it came to the nation itself. The idea was that before 2014, because of the many changes that took place within the nation and the fractures within the nation, the way that Egypt was regarded was not necessarily in the most positive light. But within the last 9 years, through a lot of effort from the foreign ministry and internal efforts as well, we have managed many relations with different countries, and we have done a lot of stuff. They're actually speaking about this and how that they built trilateral and bilateral ways of communication between different countries and joining different initiatives such as BRICS and cooperations with Greece and Cyprus, Iraq and Jordan. And obviously there will also be a focus on the internal affairs of Egypt when it came to security, because Egypt has passed through quite a difficult time post-2014, and how we've managed to deal with the internal issues that we've had as well.
Indeed. Riham Morsi, our correspondent from the new administrative capital, thank you so much for your precious input and your special coverage, Riham. And our dear viewers, that would bring us to the end of our interview with our correspondent, Riham Morsi. A short break, and after that we'll be back, so stay tuned.